On the build show today, 3 tips for waterproofing the outside of your house. Whether you're using black old school tar paper or white house wrap, I got 3 things that are gonna make a much better install. Today's build show is sponsored by Polywall. Let's get going. All right guys, so we're talking about stapled on house wraps today. Whether it's white, the newfangled stuff, or whether it's black, the old school tar paper that a lot of builders still swear by, I've got 3 things that are really going to help you on your install. Now first off, whenever you staple on a product, you're definitely prone to some wind-blown tear-off, and that's not good. Now once the siding goes on, it's going to hold this on, but we're certainly vulnerable between the time this gets installed and when the cladding comes. And if we were to attach this just with staples, like is common all across the country, that's really when the wind kicks up and it really is easy to blow off. You know, if I were to staple on this tar paper, with almost no effort, I could pull that tar paper off. Same is really true with any of the white house wraps on the marketplace. So my first tip is this right here. Cap nails, not cap staples, although those do work and have more holding power. If you look at this one, this is just a generic that we found at the local home center. It's a ring shank nail, meaning when I nail that in, it's really got some good holding power. And it's pre-attached to that cap, so when I hammer this on, it is not going anywhere. But it is fairly slow. It's not the fastest process. So to speed it up, anytime I can go pneumatic, I like to do that. Stinger makes a great cap fastener. I've used this for a long time. Not perfect, sometimes it'll misfire, but check this out. When we staple that thing up, or pardon me, when we nail that up, it's really gonna be nailed for good. And speaking of that, we want to make sure we've got a good overlap. Remember, this is our waterproofing layer, and just like you want to have your raincoat over top of your rain pants, same is true for anything we're doing that we're wrapping the house with. So whether it's tar paper or white house wrap, on these horizontal seams, give it at least 3 or 4 inches. And then check this out, when we use this stapler, look how easy that is. And now, if I try and rip this off, it's got some really good holding power. Now we're going to staple this. Depending on the product, you're going to do it probably somewhere around 12 inches on center in the field and on the edges. And let me just finish this install here real quick. And let's see, I've got a window opening hidden back here I haven't shown you yet. So that's about right. Now once we get those cap nails on there, that is not going anywhere. Okay, tip number 2, let's talk about windows and penetrations. Anything that penetrates this, you know, this install right here, beautiful. There's no possible leakage chance. That rain is going to leak off. But what happens when we install a window into this opening? Let's actually cut the window, and I've got tip number 2 for you. All right, so we got our window opening cut out here, and you're gonna notice that I basically just cut a big square out of that opening. And I just have an inexpensive vinyl window. This is really not an endorsement for cheap windows, but more just an install video. However, whether we're using a tar paper or a house wrap, we really wanna integrate that into the actual window. So you're gonna notice I'm gonna cut a 45 here on top, so that I can flap the window flange underneath and in here. So here's tip number 2 for you. These windows, and really any window, we need to assume as a builder that this very well likely could leak in the future. And when windows leak, 9 times out of 10 when they leak, it's in these corners. And vinyl windows in particular are prone to leakage right here because this is a welded corner. And every once in a while, or more than often than not, it's this weld right here that's causing the problem. So what we want to do is put a sill pan in. It's really important to put a sill pan in, but they're not always easy to install, and this product right here is going to make it way easier. This is called Arc Flash from Polywall. Now they've got it in 2 flavors. This is 6-inch right here, and I framed this mock-up as a 2x4 wall, so the 6-inch is going to work great. If I would have done a 2x6 wall, I'd probably upgrade to the 9-inch Arc Flash. And they even make this in a 12-inch version if you have a thick wall, or maybe you're doing some top of curved window installs, that sort of thing. Now when I pull the backer off there, you're going to notice this has a rubberized asphalt adhesive on the back. But check this out. This is the secret sauce right here. It's a flexible flashing that we're actually going to be able to mold into the shape we need to make a one-piece sill pan. And I'm actually going to show you that right now with the 6-inch. So here's what we're going to do. This would be the same exact plan if we were doing a white house wrap as this. And there are some other manufacturers of a similar product. The one big advantage that Polywall has is price. This is a really well-priced material. It's about half the cost of one of the competitors that I've used in the past for basically the same product. So here's what we're doing. We're cutting it so that it's about 4 inches up on both sides. See how I cut that a little bit long on both sides? And then all I'm going to do is pull that release layer on the back. And that's going to get the adhesive going. And then I'm going to rectify this, meaning put this right at the back edge of the rough opening, or pretty close to it. Okay, so I'm going right to the back edge here. And then you're going to notice I'm going to let it kind of fall down into the corners. I'm going to use my fingers to get it into that side, and it's going to go up. You could put a staple on this inside corner if you wanted to. You don't necessarily have to. But here's where the magic happens. Because this is flexible, I can flex this down on the front, and it's going to mold to the shape of the opening. So check this out. Let me move my tar paper out of the way. I'm a right-hander, so I got to get my right hand in there, my good hand. And then check that out. You're going to notice that it's just rolling right over that corner, and I'm going to hold it down. Now the adhesive's going to stick, but I don't want it to come undone. So what I'm going to do is put either a staple or, even better, a cap with a nail right into that corner right here. And that way it will remain tacked in. Okay, there we go. I might actually go ahead and tack this down too, because I've got some tar paper that's getting in the way. This happens to be the 30-pound variety, so it's a little bit thicker than the 15-pound. And check that out, just flexes right into that corner. That's really nice. Okay, perfect. This rough opening now is prepped for the window, and we're ready to go for the install. I do want to mention that, look, this is just using adhesive on this tar paper. This is just a joint that I'm looking to overlap so that if water comes into this pan area, it's going to naturally fall out. You also want to consider pre-sloping your sills like I've done here. I put a 5-degree bevel on this sill, so if any water gets in here, gravity is going to take it towards the front of the window. And when we install this window in a minute, we're also not going to seal this bottom flange so water has a way to work its way out. Okay, and tip number 3, when we go to install that window on a tar paper wall, this is a little bit tricky. I've seen a lot of people use peel and sticks that actually stuck and then peeled later. And here's the solution. This product by Polywall is called Blue Barrier, and I kind of think of this as a super caulking. It sticks to all kinds of construction materials. It'll stick to wood, it'll stick to OSB, it'll stick to tar paper, and it'll even stick to concrete. But what it won't stick to, and what it's not intended for, is sticking to white house wrap. So don't use this third tip on your white house wrap installs, but man, this is going to solve some problems for you if you're doing tar paper installs. Now there's 2 flavors of this product. They make a 2100 they call liquid flashing, and then they make a 2200 they call a joint and seam filler. The only difference between the two, it's basically the same type of super caulking or fluid applied flashing, but this 2200 joint and seam has some fiberglass fibers in the mix which allow it to span up to a 3/4 inch gap. So really you could use either one on this install, but I'm going to use the 2200 joint and seam. I also like this on the job because this is a really all-purpose exterior flashing for me. I'm going to use this between my concrete and my framing and a lot of other details like flashing penetrations, plumbing penetrations, hose bibs, things like that can be easily sealed to the tar paper with this 2200. Now here's what we're gonna do. First off, we wanna flap up the tar paper so we can have a good shingle effect on the install for this window. And then when I install this on the window flange, you're gonna notice I'm only gonna install it on the jambs and the head. I'm not gonna use any adhesive on the sill. Now once we install that window, we're gonna install it so it's flashed correctly with this tar paper. And then after the window is installed, then we're gonna put another layer on the outside. And this is the layer that I really like because all those other flashing tapes that I've seen over the years on houses, they really do not stick very well to this, which means that we're not really finishing that window install off properly, whereas this is gonna stick tenaciously to that tar paper. And it's also gonna stick, like I said earlier, really well to the OSB or the wood in this window install. All right guys, that's it. 3 tips to install both house wrap and generic tar paper in a much more bomber method. Big thanks to my friends at Polywall for sponsoring today's video. And oh, by the way, they have an e-commerce store. Everything I talked about today from Polywall, the Blue Barrier, the Arc Flash, and all their other products too, are available at their online store. I'll put a link for this down below. This is really nice because now I can order the job quantities that I need, have them shipped to my office, and I'm ready to go the next day on the job site. I just put a bead of Blue Barrier on a piece of steel, and I also put it on a water bottle and a beer bottle. And I'm gonna put the steel on the tar paper here as well. We're gonna let it dry. All I'm doing is no mechanical fasteners, just Blue Barrier. I just want to see what happens when it dries and what happens when you rip it off. Come back and we got it tomorrow. Hey guys, a little after the beep here. We did this Polywall mock-up, and after the video I thought, you know, it would be kind of fun to show off the qualities of this as an adhesive by trying to stick a few other materials to this. But the point on this is also, hey, don't forget to test. So if you've got a product that you're not familiar with, not a bad idea to do a little backyard test. So here's what I did. I just made a build logo on the tar paper, and I'm gonna try and pull that off. And you can see when it pulled off, it actually pulled fibers with it. So that's good. It's actually sticking to that tar paper, which is good. And then to show the multi-material abilities of this product, water bottle, glass bottle, and steel that I stuck on here and let them dry. And you can see it's stuck to that steel actually better than, the tar paper obviously is a weak substrate. This actually sticks even more tenaciously to the steel. God, you can't get that off. Or sticks tenaciously to the OSB, if that were your case. Look at that, it's sticking amazingly to the glass. I think the technology, if I remember correctly, was invented in Japan in the 70s, and they used this type of STPE as a windshield adhesive, and that shows you it sticks really well to glass. And lastly, a little water bottle. Man, it sticks really well to plastic too. That's neat. Anyways, I thought you might enjoy a little backyard test. This stuff has a lot of different applications on a job site, and being able to stick to multiple materials is really a big win for Polywall's fluid applied products. So guys, if you're not currently a subscriber, hit that subscribe button below. We've got new content here every Tuesday and every Friday. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Otherwise, we'll see you next time on The Build Show.